I'm like, is it on? Is it on? It is on. Awesome. So I'm just going to wait just a moment. So I have a little ticker that lets me know if anyone's on. It doesn't really matter as well because anyway, just to let you all know, hi, it's Nancy again, and I am on here with Pat. And the topic we're kind of focusing in on is when she said, I didn't even know that I needed this program. And so she's going to share a little bit more about her story. I apologize for any of you that might have some trouble finding us. Because I ran a little over, our other link timed out, which means I had to rapidly create a new one. So wonderful. You're saying that you can see us, and we have 3 people coming on right now and a few others getting started. Pat, I know you were one of the first ones to actually see the Psychic Mastery 1 program because I really wanted someone who was in the program to really lay eyes on it, to help to kind of do some editing or some suggestions. We had about 6 people taking a look at it as we finalized it, but you were one of those. And wow, your insights were wonderful and incredible and encouraging and inspiring. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Pat.
I'm a Canadian. I live in Vancouver now, but I started my life on a farm in Manitoba and spent a good chunk of my adult years in Toronto. And it was sort of a first retirement, because I keep retiring over and over again, that I ended up out here. In between Toronto and Vancouver, I spent some time in Africa. My background and interest is education. When I was very young, I would take my little brother, who could barely sit up, and push him up against a wall and scribble with crayons. I didn't know what a teacher was then, but it was abundantly clear I was bringing one into the world. And so I knew all the way through that I was going to be a teacher, all the way through university.
Oh, sorry, Pat, you're starting to cut out just a little bit.
And
sorry, Pat, can you hear me? You're starting to pixelate just a little bit and freeze.
Hi, where did we freeze?
You were talking about your little brother, and so that you always knew that you were going to be an educator, that you wanted to be a teacher when you grew up, and then it froze. And so you might try to turn up your volume just a little bit more as well.
Okay.
And let me just ask you one other thing. In your browser, do you have the Facebook open? If so, close that down.
Done.
And any other windows that may be taking some of the bandwidth?
Yeah, I will.
That might help. I mean, I kind of sound like I know what I'm doing, but.
Well, we'll find out, won't we? All right. Sorry, people. All right. So that led me on a path of knowing I was going to be a teacher, and therefore where I was headed after high school and so on. Being a bit of a brat in my teen years, I kind of thought, nah, I don't really want to be a teacher. So I looked into social work for a little while because I really wanted to work with people with disabilities. And I took a look at policy and I went, well, no, that's not me. Let me get back to the classroom where I can be creative and have fun with people in a different way. And so on and off over the years, I was in public education for, I don't know. I never counted it, but over 30 years. I was in 4 provinces. And I taught everything from kindergarten to grade 12. And my subject focus was history, English. But I ended up with working with students with academic challenges and learning difficulties. And everything from people with intellectual cognitive disability to people with, I guess you could say, psychological issues or just a very specific processing disorder, that kind of thing. So that became me and has remained all of my life in that field. Mm-hmm. So how does that relate to this? I often wondered if I was adopted or had been born into the wrong family, which apparently is common with those of us who find our way into the world of you could say woo, or things that are of spirit. And
Yeah.
but I was also born into a family that was predominantly male and very, very strong. And I tried to hold my own in that. And part of that meant, I guess, shutting down pieces of myself that were naturally me. And so, older I got, and the more that I continued on my journey in life and did the things that I was curious about, because that's, I'd say, my number one characteristic is curiosity and love of
Me
adventure.
too. Me too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love of adventure. I've started to find my way back to things that were not as scientific or as black and white as what I thought the world was supposed to be. I
Mhm.
knew it, but I didn't know it because I wasn't being exposed to it. Good academic students, so give me anything, I could learn it, unless it was physics. Anyway, I I think I was in my early 20s the first time I picked up a book. It was kind of like a Jonathan Livingston Seagull book that was like, gave me a look into the other way of things being done in the world. And I mean, obviously, just a little bit young for the hippie generation, because I probably would have fallen into that quite happily. And so I started to take this little sideways trip now and again into the world of things that were more about the flow in the universe, or about energy, or about compassion and care through different venues other than the mind. Um, and so I trudged along until I started to meet people who were psychic, or people who were healers,
Mm.
or interested in becoming healers. And one was a family member who actually got me involved in. I've studied 3 different modalities for hands-on healing, and I'm currently a therapeutic touch practitioner.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's the one I settled on because of the fact that it allowed my curiosity a little more room, I think.
Mhm.
And also it came from the nursing field. And when I'm dealing with the people in my world, because that's what I do it for, I don't do it for a business, it's just for me. They're a little more skeptical because they also came from mind more than heart. And so way back when, Nancy, you did a reading for me, and it was just at
Mm.
the time I was getting ready to go to Africa. And I didn't know it. You knew it, but I didn't know it. I was in Mexico at that time, taking a break from educating, because I burned myself out over and over again. I was trying to work from mind when I should be working from heart, is the way I would say it.
Mm.
And my body and just kept saying, you got to change things. So I became introduced to the world of healing energy, and from that, I got really invested in this as a way to reach out to people. I always had a big heart, big interest, love for people. That's never been a
Mhm.
big difficulty for me. But
Yeah, we share.
how to give in a way that, mhm. And so I started with Healing Pathway, or Reiki, went into Healing Pathway. And then when COVID hit, I'm somebody who I live with an animal or two. That's me. I like my critters. And my world is outside of my house. My social world is outside of my house. And I also have had series of depressions over my lifetime. And I know a large part of that would come from not having a stimulus or a way to check things out outside of myself. I got
Mm.
scared when COVID hit. I thought, I can't go there when I'm going to be closed in. And so I was able to find my way into the world of intuition, because I knew as a healing practitioner that if my intuition was my very best tool, because the energy
Mhm.
field of the person, my healing partner, would tell me everything I needed to know. I had the ability to be that conduit for healing energy. I knew that. I knew that I always brought some degree of relief, comfort, ease to whoever I worked with. I had no doubt in any of
Just
those.
naturally. Just naturally.
It's there, yeah. And so I needed to do something. So I have a friend who's longtime psychic, was doing similar kinds of things to Nancy, but in a very different way. So I took a how to read oracle cards course. I thought that'd be fun. And
Mhm.
then I went, whoa, there's like this oracle works, never lies. And I thought, well, that's really cool, because it had kind of always been in my life, tarot readings and things like that. But I'd never really thought about it, or really given, again, mind over heart, mind over heart.
Mhm.
It's just so big. And I started to be able to see that no matter what I did with those cards, they were always telling the story to the people that I was reading for. Again, my personal network. And then I was like, I wanted a little more. And at the very same time, I'd been following Nancy and Intuitive Mind for some time because I liked what I was hearing, and I'd had that one reading. And my sister-in-law had done Psychic Mastery before me, and was pushing, of course. And I didn't doubt her. She knows me, and she knows the world of healing. And so at the same time as the cards trading was closing, this was opening, and I thought, why not? And I joined up and started to come. And I have to tell you that it was curiosity that brought me in my mind, but I know it was my spirit that led me here for every
Mhm.
other reason that there is. That if I wanted to manifest the way I wanted to manifest as a servant of people, to
Mhm.
increase fabric of goodwill in the world, that this is
Mhm.
where my answers were. So yeah, I didn't know that I needed this. But I came anyway. I just followed the nudges. And COVID, I mean, it took something like
Oh
COVID to
yeah.
get me to open up and to do it. But here I am. So that's my journey to psychic mastery. And that's a little bit about who I am.
Mhm.
My world is outside. I'm an animal person, as I said. I ride horses. I like the ocean. I go to the mountains. I that kind of thing. But my heart is in loving people. My heart is in helping people
Mhm.
feel better. I remember very young saying, as identifying myself, because I never really did identify a lot with anything that I did or said. But I remember one sometimes saying that all I want is that whenever I've come away from a conversation with a person, that they feel a little bit more, they feel a little bit better about themselves. And I mean, I would expand that now to joy and
Yeah.
spaciousness and compassion, but that's always been there for me, articulated
Yeah.
actually, but didn't know what it meant. Getting to learn that now.
Yeah, I was sharing a little bit about myself this morning, very similar, but I remember going to the elderly lady's house down the street, knocking on the door and saying, "Do you have any dishes I can wash for you?" It was just always I had that extra sense, that extra awareness of need, and again,
Yeah.
just really drawn to wanting to help make someone's life a little bit better. I remember, volunteering at the shelters on the holidays to help feed, the homeless when I was a teenager. So yeah, those natural abilities just really spill over, don't they, into everything that you do. But I reached a point where, yeah, I didn't have a sense of self. It was like, I had a sense of service, I had that service heart, but I was kind of draining. I was just kind of depleted, and I didn't have any tools to kind of help refill myself. So you've talked a little bit about recognizing when you've gone through burnout before. But in what ways did psychic mastery kind of help you come back to yourself?
When I was school principal, middle school, inner city Toronto, I really did myself in because the need was great. The human need was great with my students and even in the families. And I finally reached a point where there was nothing that as an individual I could do. And I had to let go. And I had a Barbara Brand counselor that I worked, therapist that I worked at the time. And she said, Pat, it seems to me you're not accessing all the resources that are available to you.
Mm.
I heard her. I didn't really understand what she was saying, but I kind of did know that there was another way to be that was implied in that. And it's just like one of those little pivotal points where I went, something else happened there. So as I said, when it came time to I'm also keep looking at retirement. I've done it 2 or 3 times. I'm looking at it again right now. And so when COVID started and I could see that the end was coming for a lot of the way my life had been lived, it was like, I really have to do something. And that's why psychic mastery, when it had been laid down for me over the years, I knew pieces of it. And I had been following intuitive mind. And I was like, I like this and I need something. And maybe the answers are here. And turns out they are. And I don't live the same way I used to live a short 2 years ago, because it was at the I think maybe May was my first month,
Mhm.
end of May. And it's taken me a while to adopt it all because I was kind of just curious, watching, wasn't particularly engaged, but I was watching to see what was happening with the other people. And I was blown away by the degree of spirituality and openness and psychic ability in the people that were part of the programs that I was seeing and being involved in. And I was like, no, I could never do that. I'm way too shut down for that. That was my message. Nancy saw that. She
Wow.
called me right out on that one real fast, which is good because it kept me coming. It's like, okay, there is possibility and there's hope for me. And a couple of private conversations with other group members helped me to understand that I wasn't the only one who felt like a stranger in a strange land, but absolutely in the right place.
Mhm.
And so I stuck around and learned. And yeah, so if I was asked what the tools are that are the best for the most
And I
powerful,
was going to ask you that, so you must be psychic.
yeah, no, I'm a teacher. I'm always anticipating. It's the grounding. It's about that idea that I can use the energy of the earth, the energy of the heavens to ground me in today and be able to deal with whatever is in front of me. And I could never do that. I always flip back to my mind and my training in my mind. Even
Mhm.
the counseling and work I've done psychologically over the years always plays into it for me. And it was suddenly like I could just do it with the energy that's around me, that's natural, that makes me warm and fuzzy, and then it gives back warm and fuzzy and protects me. And I didn't know how to do that before, and I know how to do that now. And it's taken me a long, long time in terms of, the 12-month program was meant to be one module a month. And I was like, well, we'll see how long it takes to do one module. And I think I learned the rose techniques at this end of my first year. And they're constantly with me now. I'm never in my house without roses now because I understand about frequency and vibration and what that can do to help me maintain that level of ability to be of
Mhm.
service that I can't
Mhm.
do when I'm shut down or afraid or dark, right?
Right.
So yeah, I'm on the slow train and I don't really mind that because in the
Yeah.
slow train, it kept me in here for the most amazing things that I've ever seen. And that is when Nancy brings the 3 levels of the psychic mastery programs together for those who have skills and are ready to do a little bit more themselves to practice with those of us who are just learning and finding out what this can be. And I have witnessed, been part of, and included in the most amazing healing things I've ever seen, ever
Wow.
in my personal eyes. And that brings tears to my eyes as I
Mhm.
say it.
Mhm.
People
Yeah, and
care
you're referring to Mentoring Monday,
enough
correct?
to do what they're doing and to give it away. I am.
So you're
Are you
referring to
there?
the Mentoring Monday that we have, correct?
Yeah, I am. And but also through Mentoring Monday, I've met some of the other people who are becoming more as a business, and I've had the opportunity to go in and do sessions with them to give them a
Nice.
chance to do that and the learning and like amazing people and it's the open heartedness and
Mhm.
I don't ever feel judged ever for no matter what I may think, say, or do, and that's always something I've been very tuned into because I think that has to do with the idea that I was acting from mind, coming from heart, and always therefore not really sure what I was
Yeah.
laying down and how it was being picked up. So very self-conscious, maybe self-centered, but more self-conscious. And not wanting to be offensive came along after I got tired of being a little bit of a rebel. I started not wanting to do that. And I was not always able to find my way. And I just feel accepted. And in my learning, I'm accepted. And I don't understand a lot, but it's okay for me to say that or to ask a question or to observe. And inevitably, if something comes up in my mind in the course or in my day to day, I don't even have to go to Nancy to get it, even though I could. It's because the next Mentoring Monday, that's going to come up.
It's
It's
gonna
clean
come up.
on. It's the idea that someone else's learning is going to apply to me, and or matching pictures,
Yeah.
which is something that Nancy talks
Yeah.
about. So techniques and ways of just helping me be more of who I am and as have always been was manifested to be, but needed to have the journey I had to get here the way I am because it's going to be given somehow, some way. It already is to others.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
accept all that. Would
Yeah.
have loved to have been doing this all my life, but
Yes. Isn't that the truth? So, yeah, that I wanted to kind of acknowledge that in the training that our students do, that in psychic mastery too, when they want to go to become, kind of train and really build their skill to potentially be a professional reader, that is one of the main things. It's like stay on your pineal, and staying on your pineal is a cultivated practice. But when you're on your pineal, it's not possible to be judgmental. It's not possible to be critical. If you're being judgmental and critical, you are not on your pineal. And so, yeah, they practice and they work at it. It's the same in Psychic Mastery 1. Yeah, you learn, take the elevator to the top, get back on your pineal if you're being judgmental of yourself or anyone else. But and so Mentoring Monday, just to let you all know who are kind of listening in, that's the one day a week where all of our students come together from all three programs. And then in Psychic Mastery 1, they get to observe the advanced readers, the graduates, answering questions. So you have the opportunity each week to kind of throw your hat in the ring to have your name drawn for a reading. But we also play with other things as well for engagement. But Pat, what keeps coming up is this story from the Dalai Lama when his very high ascended yogis, they could melt snow up in the Himalayas. They could control their heart rate. They could do all these magnificent things. They could, elevate off the ground without touching anything. They do all these amazing things. And remember, these scientists that were studying the yogis, they had all their end results. So the Dalai Lama flew into California where they were doing the studies, and he comes walking in, and he loves science. But he said, they said, "Wow, your yogis, look at what they can do, like they're extra special or something." And he said, "Oh, well, they've learned their studies well." He was very neutral about it. "They've learned their studies well," he said, "but the true test is, can they remain centered and aligned with their soul in the midst of their own emotions?" He goes, "That's the true test." So that's what I'm kind of being nudged to ask you about, because you're a powerful woman. You're a strong woman. You're a force on this planet, and you were born a force. How have these techniques helped you to really be able to manage, not shut down your light, not shut down your strength, not hide who you are, but how have these techniques helped you to be able to channel and manage your powerful emotions more?
Yeah, the powerful emotions. It was trained out of me to have emotions when I was very young. It just wasn't the thing to do. And maybe the surface. And of course, it wasn't like I was unemotional. It just was never something promoted, or lots of ways of clipping that. Just like nobody wants to deal with emotions, don't
Right.
be a girl kind of thing.
Don't
And
be a girl. Is that what you just said?
yeah, that's a girl thing, don't you know?
Oh my God. Well, I love it.
I'm serious. I told you, 4 brothers and a very dominant father, and a mom who had many traumas as a young woman. So her emotional capacity was not particularly well developed either. So, that's the time, and it's not a
Yeah,
problem. It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
my journey. So I've spent my whole life pretending I didn't have emotions. And then I went, well, yeah, I do have emotions. That's what the personal therapies and things that I did taught me. Oh, yeah, you are a very emotional person. And then the last little while, maybe probably since I got into the healing arts, so say 10 or 15 years, I don't even know, because again, time is kind of not linear for me. And it's kind of like, well, how the heck do I get them now that I've got them? How do I get them out of the way? Because man, they're stopping stuff. So
Isn't that the truth?
now they're just messages. They're right. Okay, I'm feeling something. Why am I feeling that? And now I have this is the techniques that have come, like going into the pineal, and that's gotten stronger and stronger the last 6 weeks. I just love it because it's taken me that long to understand it from my own perspective, and it's just developing now. Like I'm always checking things out and seeing which is which for me, and which rose is bright, like all these techniques.
Nice.
And I'm loving it. I'm having fun with it. And but yeah, it's like emotions are there to cue me, to
Yes.
inspire me,
Mm-hmm.
to anything but stop me. So it's how
Right.
to allow them to move and not keep them stuck. And that's where I was starting to talk about the grounding techniques and the flow of energy from universe and feet. And Nancy always says, imagination is the tool of intuition and the mind. And I'm like, okay, I don't get it. But then she would encourage us to find ways to ground, and I because of some of the other healing techniques I've learned, there's always different ways of connecting heaven and earth and so on. But
Mhm.
they seem very serious to me, not necessarily dry, but very serious to me. And so when she said, find a way to take your core, your grounding cord to the core of the earth and be creative. And she said, do a lightning bolt, or do whatever, just let it happen. She says, and she somewhere along the way talked about someone or herself who'd had a thing, a person, a being, I can't remember what it was, that would take it down. And immediately, my heart horse that died a couple of years ago came to me, and he
Oh,
just stood at my just inside the energetically, he was there right under me, and I just said, okay, Rudy, let's go, boy. And he kicked and he bucked and he danced down through the lakes and the rivers and the streams and the score to the core. And then I was on him, and we got down into the core of the earth, and I would be on him, and he'd get his little legs. He was a pacer. He's a standard wrestler pacer. And we would be pacing away in this gold or this blue light
nice.
earth energy. And that's what he did to ground me. And sometimes there'd be stray energy. So I'd bring in butterflies that would follow us down. It
Mhm.
was really fun. So that helped me to take the seriousness out, because academic learning, serious learning, is very much been my
Oh,
whole life. And this allowed me to break free from that. Being part of these other groups where people talk about their processes, I'm like, oh man, I thought that was pretty creative. Man, there's some people out there who do other dances that are like, wow, that's so cool. But it also opens the door for me to be more like that. And so,
yeah.
yeah, connecting into the earth energy and then drawing it up, that was not hard to do and to invite down. But Nancy, the blue light movement is where my freedom came inside of or my psychic mastery, because you showed me how to let go of things I no longer need by using energy that wasn't from me. It wasn't psychological, it was energetic. That's truly the piece that came to me, and that is built into psychic mastery, mentoring Mondays. No matter our phone calls, it's always there. And that happens to be the energy of COVID. And there's no question that I've let go of things they don't serve me anymore. And that's not serving me to serve you. So
Right.
that
Right.
that it has been, I would say, the techniques are wonderful, and I'm adopting them as quickly as I can, which seems rather slowly, but that's my own judgment of me. But it's the blue light around, and the idea, and walking into a room now when things are difficult and just grounding it in blue light. And I can't really tell if it changes anything, but it sure does for me.
Mhm.
And I'm more
Mhm.
present.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that academic professional piece. I mean, looking back now, I was a nurse. My goal, I really wanted these techniques in the hospital. I had I had such, an awareness that people don't have to get as sick as they are, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, that if they can just run their energy. I mean, I could see it as clear as a bell. But being a professional, being academic, being of higher education, I felt like I needed to function within this certain little box. And I wouldn't talk about things like the blue light. I wouldn't talk about things like clairvoyance and psychic. I wouldn't talk about star beings from another planet. I just watched Ancient Aliens for the first time last year, and it has 18 seasons. I mean, that's how straight and narrow I kept myself. But I will tell you that that just recently I looked back over those 25 years and I said to myself, what was it that was so strong there that made me waste so much time caring what other people thought, just not feeling like I could talk my truth. And that's the message that I want to share with everybody. It's like it's time, it is time, and no looking back, and make that leap, because intuitively the universe is expanding at a rapid pace, faster than I can even. Sometimes I say I'm kind of like climbing this ladder trying to get to the next level, because it's just so fast. So yeah, it's great. It's I always say the magic and the mysticism. Wouldn't you say, Pat, that it makes life a heck of a lot more fun to live?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Um, Having a perspective of what I'm calling energy, but it's spirit or coming from everything that is into this moment. I love all the metaphysics. Um, has given a lease on life, and there's much more joy in the world for me, and I can see it. And so when I come up against people that I find challenging, and I do that all the time because I can be rather dominant, I think. Um, uh, and I'm like, I want to explain them away with something psychological or academic, and I don't do it anymore. It's kind of like, I don't know their experience. I don't know what they're bringing to this moment. And I can bring myself to a place where I'm actually willing to connect with them at a different level, to move, to do what we have to do together. We don't have to be best friends anymore. Like that used to be
Yeah.
something. It's just like, no, it just isn't that important. The difference or the difficulty is only a barrier to learn from, shall we say. That's a
Mhm.
shift in thinking.
Mhm.
It's like I don't want to keep people away. That's what barriers usually do, right? Is to keep me away from someone that's difficult or I'm challenged or I don't know what to do. It's like I don't need those barriers anymore, or I'm learning to know it.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
it's kind of like there's other ways to deal with this and
Yeah,
keep myself safe and not do damage out there. Like
right.
that's a whole other level,
That you
you
have
know.
to clean up later.
Yeah, I hate it. Yeah. And as you said something that that I absolutely stay away from is why didn't I get this sooner? I can't live with regret. I cannot
No.
regret the life I took. So I bring it all into a tight little package that puts me clearly here today, learning what I'm learning and doing what I'm doing because if I went into that, I think I could get buried in it.
Yeah, yeah. And we do have many people, I remember, one of my clients, students being called to be a shaman, and she was 80 years old. And she was just like, how am I going to do this? And it's amazing if you met her now versus before, you just wouldn't believe it. And just how mentally her tracking was a bit sluggish, but then after the year, how much faster her tracking was, at 80 years old. And so no, there's there's always a good time to start, and that's now.
Yes,
Is
yes.
what I want to say about that. But I do want to keep within this 30 minutes. But I just want to say that as I was redesigning Psychic Mastery One, I asked Spirit. We've got 70 people in Psychic Mastery One, so I asked Spirit, which one student would be the perfect student to help read the material and help edit for its kind of final finishings. And right away, your name came up, Pat Foreman. And I was like, oh, okay. I reached out to you. I had no idea,
I know.
that your degrees in English and that you write curriculum all the time. And it was like, but this is what I love about Spirit. Spirit's going to direct you in the right way if you can trust it, if you can break through that paralyzing doubt and trust your
Yeah.
intuitive instincts. And so right away, I was just like, okay, thank you. Thank you. You brought me a gem. And so that's the other beauty that I say about intuition using practical applications. It has practical applications other than just, being in the metaphysical, mystical aspects of it. There's lots of intuitive applications. So, is there any last final message that you would like to share with everyone before we finish up here?
If I would say this is, I know you said not to advertise, but I have to. And because in my experience, this work is incredible. Okay. But what I really want to say is if you feel at all the tiniest nudge or inkling that might be for you, jump on it. And if you're full on, take it, don't even hesitate. But there's so much freedom in here for you, for anyone who takes this. There's freedom in here like you'll never know, to be exactly who you are, who you need to be at this given time. And the community and the techniques and the tools and the learning that we do together is, I've been an academic all my life. I've learned with community all my life. I am still instructing at a university right now. I'm still a part of that, but it's nothing like I've experienced in this group. And I
Oh,
think it,
wow.
yeah, I think it has to do with, because I'm truly coming from, definitely there's the hit emotionally. I'm truly expressing a part of me that's deep inside that I was manifested here to do. And I did it through academia and was very, I did do that. And I'll never take away what I did. I gave all the time. But there's another level now, and I'm touching hearts, not just minds, at a much deeper level. And that's what this is. That's what this is. And oh my God, the fun. We have
It is fun.
fun. It's fun. Nancy's wonderful sense of humor and of willingness to just show, to be who she is, and it allows us to do that too. Yeah, and
Yeah.
lots of very cool people. I can't
Lots
wait
of cool
until I
people.
get down into the Seattle, Tacoma area. There's several people down there that I'm dying to meet. You're one of them, Nancy. But yeah, see them in person. So
Oh, wonderful.
that's my message is, if you are here and you have an inkling that you should try this, know that you're talking to someone who heard, thought it was interesting, got curious, had a lot of doubt, and came. And here I am today, living my best life with a joyful heart and a service heart open. So yeah, I don't think you can go
Awesome.
wrong with it. And besides, nobody nails you to the floor. You don't like it, leave.
That's right.
Thank you, Nancy.
Oh my God, I love you, Pat. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap
Me
up.
too for
And
you.
thank you so much for coming on today. And people will be listening to the recordings later. And I do hope that you'll hop on and respond to some of the comments and questions as they come up. And just for everybody joining us in the Psychic Mastery Program, know that Pat shows up quite a bit to most events, but also when she needs to kind of pop out or when she's traveling on vacation, she's not there. But that's the beauty about this program. You get to work independently at your own pace. So again, thank you so much, Pat. And I want you to just stay on a little bit after I end the broadcast, but I want to remind everybody we've got back to back. So we're going to have Valerie coming on at 11, which gives me about 10 minutes to send her the link. So go take a break, get a glass of water or something to drink and maybe a sandwich, and come back and join us again. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.